See, Lord Paul, Baroness Prashad, my boss, Thornton CEO, Dave Dunkley, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen. Before I start, I really would like to thank both the High Commissioner and Baroness Prashad for the very kind words that they've expressed about Thornton and about the work that we've done. Yes, it was a very difficult task. We faced many issues along the way. Lots of GDPR compliance issues, and it potentially never actually got off the ground. But I'm very pleased to see that we've actually now produced the report. As you heard from the various speakers, there is no single data point in terms of Indian diaspora-owned companies. So it was actually a very challenging task. It's also inherently very difficult in terms of identifying cultural origin and cultural background. So it's been a very tough job, as has been expressed by both my Commissioner and Baroness Prashad. This is only the surface. So the figures that I will be giving you, I suspect, will grow as we continue over the years in terms of tracking and producing this report. As Chande said, the final report will be available to you at the end of the evening. We've deliberately not presented it to you now because you wouldn't be listening to me, but you're looking at the report in true Indian style. So you will get it at the end of the report. I'm particularly proud to be associated with this report because I am the founder partner of the Thornton South Asia Group. I recall in 1991 when Dave's predecessor, I was talking to him about setting up this group. And again, at that time, we had very little information, but we had estimated the net wealth of the Indian diaspora community was something like £7 billion. Our work today indicates that the net wealth of the diaspora community is over £75 billion. And I believe that is still an understatement and underestimate. Because please bear in mind that our research only talks about companies. It doesn't look at partnerships, it does not look at sole traders. And many of the Indian diaspora businesses are either as sole traders or as partnerships. So, and I reiterate again, the figures I'm going to give you, I suspect are just touching the surface in terms of numbers. So, let me talk to you about the numbers. You heard about the 65,000 Indian diaspora-owned companies that we have. Out of these, we researched 654 of them, which we consider to be the largest. Again, as I say, they're not all the largest, but they are the largest that we've identified. They have a combined turnover of just under £37 billion, employing 174,000 people. And they pay about £1 billion in corporation tax alone. We haven't counted obviously all the indirect taxes, but that number obviously would be significantly higher than the £1 billion that we've got in the report. And in terms of capital expenditure alone, based upon the last published accounts, they spent £2 billion in capital expenditure. What's interesting is that we've also looked at the location of these businesses. It actually tracks very much the demographics of how the Indian diaspora are across the country. So our research has shown that 52% of the 654 companies are actually based in London, with 13% both in the north and the south, 11% in the Midlands, and 9% in the east, and 1% in Scotland, Wales, and Northern Ireland, respectively. We also know, although we haven't tracked down to that level of detail, but we know that London, Leeds, Birmingham, Manchester, and Leicester are key locations for such companies. Sector-wise, we found that the sectors that the Indian diaspora are in reflect very much the natural attraction that Indian diaspora business people have towards real estate, medicine, and trading, and trading. Hospitality tops the chart with nearly 20% involved in this sector. The next most popular sector is healthcare, which is at 15%, and healthcare and pharma. Then that ranges from care homes all the way through to manufacturing of pharma, wholesaling and retailing. Retailing and wholesaling as itself, and real estate follows suit with about 13%. Real estate is very much in the Indian blood, as all of you who are Indian diaspora and businesses who I know for sure will have real estate as part of your business. What's interesting as well is that 9% were involved in food and beverage, which reflects partly to do with the fact that the Indian diaspora obviously are a significant part in terms of the population and obviously love Indian food, but it's now become the mainstream diet, and that chicken tikka masala is the most popular dish and has overtaken fish and chips in terms of that. So it's interesting that food and beverage is nearly 10%. In terms of employment-wise, we found that of the 174,000, there were 23 Indian diaspora businesses that employed more than 1,000 people. The largest of these, as we mentioned earlier, is B&M Retail, which employs 26,496. Unfortunately, they couldn't be here today, but they're based in Manchester, as many of you will know. What's interesting is that of the top employers, the hospitality, food and beverage account for nearly a quarter of all the employment. And if you compare this, one of the other interesting things we found in terms of the research was that, and as we mentioned by Baroness Prashad, is that 35% of the companies researched had a woman, at least one woman director on board. This actually percentage compares favourably to the India Meets Britain Tracker report, which reports that Indian parent-owned companies have 24% of their directors are female. Finally, if we combine the research of our two reports, that's the Thornton CIA India Meets Britain report and the Thornton FICCI report on the Indian diaspora, the combined turnover of the two is £85.5 billion. £85.5 billion. They pay £1.7 billion in corporation tax alone, and they employ 280,000 people. I think that deserves a round of applause. Those are the main highlights of the report. There's much more content in the report which talks about other well-known diaspora individuals, and I believe Monty Panesar is in the room somewhere, and obviously a very well-known ex-Indian cricketer, and many others not to mention, together with the fact that there are, I think, 23 peers in the House of Lords and 15 current MPs in the Houses of Parliament. We very much look forward to continuing our collaboration with the Indian High Commission and FICCI in continuing to track the performance and the contribution made by the Indian diaspora. And I would like to thank all of you personally for making the effort to come along this evening for this launch. Have a good evening. Thank you.